Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah wahda wa salatu wa salam ala man la nabi ba'da. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. So inshallah, today we'll be going over juz number 27. I just want to let you know that Facebook, unfortunately, we normally live stream on Facebook, but it's giving us problem for some reason. There's some issues and we're not able to live stream on Facebook. So we'll just be coming back onto YouTube, and then we'll just kind of post a link on Facebook later on whenever it's ready. And I'd like to give a thank you and Jazakallah khair to all those who joined us for the Laylatul Qadr and the Khatam Quran, and all those people who donated. So juz number 27. In this juz, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we begin with the beginning of Surah Al-Dhariyat. So in the beginning of Surah Al-Dhariyat, the last portion of Surah Al-Dhariyat talked about Yawm al-Qiyamah, and that there will be good and bad people, and some of the things that they will be saying. So it's a lot of the dialogue that will happen on the Day of Judgment. The end of Surah Dhariyat, the end of the juz number 26, which is the beginning of Surah Dhariyat, goes into some of their dialogue. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also goes and displays a lot of his greatness and his glory and his power. And in those verses are really verses to be read. And then in the end, towards the end of the juz number 26, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then talks about the people of Lut alayhi salam. How the people of Lut alayhi salam, they basically did not believe in him. And so then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent angels, and they're known as the guests of Ibrahim alayhi salam. So in verse number 24, هَلْ أَتَاكَ حَدِيثُ ضَيْفِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ الْمُكْرَمِينَ. Their guests came to Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ibrahim alayhi salam doesn't know who they are. So he welcomes these guests. They come into his home and they sit down. So then Ibrahim alayhi salam, he offers them a roasted lamb. And it's actually mentioned in the verse that he offers them a roasted lamb, a big fat lamb, but they don't eat anything. And when they don't eat anything, he becomes a little apprehensive and he becomes a little worried. So then in order to calm Ibrahim alayhi salam down, they give Ibrahim alayhi salam glad tidings of a baby boy. So then he realized they're angels. These are angels that have come and they've given him glad tidings of a baby boy, because now he's well into his 80s. He doesn't have any children. His wife, she hears this news and she's in disbelief. I mean, how does this happen? She says, I'm old and I can't have children. So then eventually they realize this is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they thank Allah. Then juz number 27 begins. قَالَ فَمَا خَطْبُكُمْ أَيُّهَا الْمُرْسَلُونَ. Ibrahim alayhi salam now asks them, what's the real reason why you're actually here? I mean, this could Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have told him through wahi or through some other means. So why he knew the angels being here was for some other ulterior motive. So then they told him that they came here to punish the people of Lut alayhi salam. And then after that, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala goes into the examples of the people of Musa alayhi salam, the people of Fir'aun, the people of Ad, Thamud, and the people of Nuh alayhi salam, and their examples are then mentioned in this verse. Then verse number 50, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَفِرُّوا إِلَى اللَّهِ إِنِّي لَكُمْ مِنْهُ نَذِيرٌ مُبِينٌ. The end message really is to run to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After you hear the accounts of these people, how they rejected Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they did not follow in the right path, run to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that's where your salvation will be. That's where you will be safe, when you run towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in order to give us energy and to give us hope and to help keep us focused on the right path, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in verse number 55, وَذَكِّرْ فَإِنَّ الذِّكْرَى تَنْفَعَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. And remind each other, because these reminders are the best ways in which we can keep focused on the right path. Why is this so important? Why do you have to run to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Why should believers remind each other? وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. In verse number 56, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, because he created mankind and jinn only for his worship. Then we move on to Surah Tur. In Surah Tur, this surah is about the description of the believers in Jannah. And from 17, verse number 17 onwards, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about how they will be happy, and they'll be happy that Allah saved them from the fire of hell. Right? And they'll be and Allah will give them various treats. and they'll be eating, and وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا, they'll be eating from the beautiful blessings of Jannah, and they'll be reclining on thrones and cushions, and they'll be very close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then in verse number 21, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions a very unique blessing. And this is something, we often hear about, bad things about the hereafter and hell. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala offers us some hope. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَاتَّبَعَتْهُمْ ذُرِّيَّتُهُم بِإِيمَانٍ أَلْحَقْنَا بِهِمْ ذُرِّيَّتَهُم وَمَا أَلَتْنَاهُم مِّنْ عَمَلِهِم مِّن شَيْءٍ. That when we go to Jannah, when we find that we will have many of our family members, those of our family members who followed in the footsteps of the Prophet ﷺ, and they were righteous, we will meet them and we'll be so happy. So what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do, He'll collect all the family members, and the family member with the highest level of Jannah, they will all go there and they will gather in the highest level of Jannah without anybody's reward being decreased. So this is a huge blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you'll be able to relax and chill and enjoy the company of your family members in Jannah, not in yours, but in the one who has the highest status in Jannah. Everybody will go there and they will all live there, peacefully and happily. So this ayah really gives a lot of encouragement. Then ayah number 26, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قَالُوا إِنَّا كُنَّا قَبْلُ فِي أَهْلِنَا مُشْفِقِينَ. We will talk about, from ayah number 26 to about 29, there's a little dialogue that happens. We'll talk how, we'll reflect with one another that, what, in the day of, in the dunya, when we were together, we we're talking about how the day of judgment will be and how it will be so scary, and we're so worried, and we're all trying to prepare our best. And what will happen, we'll be so thankful and grateful to Allah that He saved us from that scary image that we had. That we'll wake up on the day of judgment, and inshallah, Allah will make it very easy for us, very fluid, very, and we'll be able to get to our final destination without any hardships and difficulties. So we'll thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that. Then in verse 30 to around 45, then the deniers ask Allah, they'll ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala them now, Allah will ask them, look at your idols and your false gods. Do you really think they create the heavens and the earth? So now from verse number 35 to around 45, Allah brings a series of very powerful, potent questions. And these questions are not just for the mushrikeen. These questions are potent, especially for people who are struggling with atheism or who are looking for responses towards atheism. These questions really ask valid questions. Did your false god create the heavens and the earth? Did you come into existence out of nothing? Did you just suddenly pop into existence from nowhere? Or did you create yourself? How did you come into existence? These are very important questions, especially those people who deal with atheism. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks a series of questions, and then He's asking them evidence. What's your proof? What's your evidence? So then the surah then ends with this. Then we move on to Surah Al-Najm. In Surah Najm, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first talks about the miracle of Isra and Mi'raj. How in Isra and Mi'raj, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what he actually saw, and his close proximity to Jibreel alayhi salam, his proximity to the actual things that he saw, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, making it very clear that he saw what he saw. There was no exaggeration in his heart or in his eyes. His eyes didn't swerve back and forth. Very clear. You had to read these verses from verse number 28 onwards. From the beginning, of Surah Najm until around verse number 28. Then in verse number 28, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks, وَمَا لَهُمْ بِهِ مِنْ عِلْمٍ إِن يَتَّبِعُونَ إِلَّا الظَّنَّ وَإِنَّ الظَّنَّ لَا يُغْنِي مِنْ الْحَقِّ شَيْئًا. That a lot of what we follow in this world, right, the philosophies that people have, their ideologies, they're all based off assumptions. They're all baseless, and they have no knowledge. They follow nothing but assumptions, and indeed assumptions avail nothing against the truth, against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So people often have these nice philosophies, these ideologies, especially even amongst Muslims. Unfortunately, they want to make Islam pleasant and appealing to the people of the West, and unfortunately they do it in a very wrong way, in a way that's not really practical, in a way that's not really pragmatic. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in verse number 38 says, أَلَّا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. That no one's gonna bear the burden of anyone else. So no matter what you choose who you choose to follow, what philosophy you like, and which philosophy you follow, which ideology you follow. You are the one who made the choice to follow them. Nobody else. You can't blame them that, yeah, Allah, they made this up and I just followed and I didn't know. You can't say that. We all have enough, intellect. The Quran and the Sunnah are right here to guide us. So there are no excuses for following any type of false ideology. Then number 43 onwards, Allah introduces us to Himself. That Allah is the one who makes us cry and He makes us laugh, right? Allah gives us happiness and He gives us sadness. Allah gives us life and He gives us death, marriage, children, the stages of children. And so all the experiences that you have in life, the happy experiences and the sad experiences, everything is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He wants us to reflect upon this. And then Allah subhanahu in verse number 49, وَإِنَّهُ هُوَ رَبُّ الشِّعْرَى. There are no stars because Allah created them, right? People think that, maybe it's because of this and because of that. We're happy because of, some sort of, because of when we were born, you're, following the stars, and people kind of follow their birth, symbols or whatever it is. These are all false things. Allah is the one who created everything, and Allah is the one who gives us these experiences. And eventually Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that we will be held accountable with our deeds in front of Him. And the surah ends on this. Then Surah Qamar opens up with a miracle of the splitting of the moon. Then Allah gives an account of the previous prophets, Ibrahim alayhi salam, then Hud and his people, and Lut alayhi salam and his people, and then the people of Fir'aun, and how Allah destroyed all of these previous nations. And that's there for us to reflect. أَكُفَّارُكُمْ خَيْرٌ مِّنْ أُولَٰئِكُمْ أَمْ لَكُمْ بَرَاءَةٌ مِّنَ الزُّهْرِ. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is now asking the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it's really something for us to reflect. Do you think the disbelievers of your time are any different from the disbelievers of the previous nation? Or they're somehow better? No, they're not. They're all the same, and they're making the same assumptions, the same fallacies, the same mistakes. Our job is just to not follow them. We just convey our message, and that is it. And Allah wants us to ponder upon this. And this is a really important question that we should be asking ourselves too. Then in verse number 53, every small or big thing that you say or that you will do, everything is going to be recorded, right? Everything is going to be recorded. So don't think that you can, somehow get away. Everything, you will be held accountable. And the lucky people and the good people will be those who carefully keep this into consideration and they follow the right path. Then the surah ends with the following two verses. إِنَّ الْمُتَّقِينَ فِي جَنَّاتٍ وَنَهَرٍ. Indeed, the righteous will be amongst the gardens and the rivers. فِي مَقْعَدِ صِدْقٍ عِنْدَ مَلِيكٍ مُقْتَدِرٍ. In a seat of honor near Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, near a sovereign perfect in ability. So then the people who are righteous, who did follow the righteous path, they're careful about their big and small deeds. These people will be in the closest proximity with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, enjoying the blessings of paradise. Then comes Surah Rahman. This is a very important surah because 31 times in this surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks, which of the favors of your Lord do you deny? And then in the entire surah, Allah is enumerating the blessing that He has given us. Right? Everything that Allah has given us. He mentions the gifts one by one, the heavens, the skies, the earth, the oceans, the fruit, the vegetation, the pearls that you see inside the sea, the riches of the earth, the resources that the earth has to offer, all the good things that you are there. These are things that we're meant to reflect upon. So one by one, Allah is mentioning these blessings. And then He says, Kullu man alayha fan, in verse number 26. All of these things are going to be destroyed. They're all going to be lost. Right? So you're running after these blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you're taking these riches, these gifts, and then you're not being thankful to Allah. And when you know they're just temporary gifts, they're not going to last forever. So why be greedy and why not be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And then وَلِمَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ جَنَّتَانِ, in verse number 46. That those people who are thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they will give to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they will be given two Jannah. One Jannah in this world inside their heart where they'll have complete peace and tranquility. And the next Jannah will be in the hereafter. And the reason why Allah keeps on asking for because on the day of judgment, Allah will repeatedly ask us this question: which of the favors do you deny? All these things Allah gave you, why didn't you thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Why didn't you worship Him? Why didn't you pray? Just the basics. So then the surah ends with on this note. Then we move on to Surah Al-Waqi'ah. Surah Al-Waqi'ah, there will be three types of people on the Day of Judgment. The people on the right, the good people, and then the people on the left, the bad people who will suffer because of their bad deeds. And then there's a third group of people. The third group of people who will be the people who will be the sabiqun, the people who are rushing towards Allah, who are always rushing towards goodness. And these people will be in even better state than the right people, the people who are people of Jannah, who are the people of good deeds. These people will be even more closer to Allah than them. And then verse number 57, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, now he asks us again another series of questions. Are you really in control? In verse number 57, are you really in control? Did you create one another? Did you create each other? Right? In verse number 64, did you create the crops and the vegetation that you're eating and consuming? Verse number 68, did you create the skies, right, that bring water to you all the time? In verse number 72, did you make fire? Did you create fire that you use all the time for your various machinery and the cooking that you use? So Allah's asking this question: did you make these things, or do you have them with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And this is to help us reflect upon Allah's power and how weak we really are and how dependent we are on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then towards the end of the surah, a description of death is brought forward. And again, Allah brings the three categories of people: the people on the right, the people of righteousness and goodness; the people on the left, the people of sin and suffering; and then the third group of people who are the people who are just rushing constantly towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who will be in the best of situations. Then Surah Hadid. This surah captures some of the scenes on the Day of Judgment, especially on the bridge of Sirat. What's going to happen is that there'll be the kuffar and the bad Muslims. And what's going to happen, there's going to be complete darkness. They're not going to be able to cross, and the believers will come and they'll have a light. So then, and they'll be able to cross easily. So the bad people and the kuffar will then come to the believers, and they'll tell them, please give us some of the light so that we can cross over, right, with you. But then a wall will be obstructed in between, and they will not be able to have any more communication. And then the surah then continues. And then in verse number 20, it very beautifully summarizes the real essence of the surah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا لَعِبٌ وَلَهْوٌ وَزِينَةٌ وَتَفَاخُرٌ بَيْنَكُمْ وَتَكَاثُرٌ فِي الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَوْلَادِ كَمَثَلِ غَيْثٍ أَعْجَبَ الْكُفَّارَ نَبَاتُهُ ثُمَّ يَهِيجُ فَتَرَاهُ مُصْفَرًّا ثُمَّ يَكُونُ حُطَامًا وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ عَذَابٌ شَدِيدٌ وَمَغْفِرَةٌ مِنَ اللَّهِ وَرِضْوَانٌ وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ. Know that the life of this world is nothing but amusement and diversions and adornment and boasting to one another and competition in the increase of your wealth and your children, like the examples of rain whose resulting plants grow pleases the tillers. Then it dries and you see it turns yellow, and then it becomes scattered like debris. And in the hereafter is severe punishment and forgiveness by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what is the worldly life except for just enjoyment and delusion, inside this enjoyment, right? Just delusion upon delusion. And this basically summarizes the surah and the end of this verse. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us and save us, enable us to really understand the messages of these verses and inculcate them into our lives. Let's make a little dua, inshallah. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم إنا نسألك من فضلك اللهم اعصمنا من الشيطان الرجيم. اللهم اكفنا بحلالك عن حرامك واغننا بفضلك عمن سواك يا واسع المغفرة. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من الهم والحزن والعجز والكسل والبخل والجبن وضلع الدين وغلبة الرجال. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من الكفر والدين. اللهم اجعلنا من ورثة جنة النعيم. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من الفقر والفاقة والذلة ونعوذ بك من أن نظلم أو نظلم. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من غلبة الدين وغلبة العدو وشماتة الأعداء. اللهم إنا نسألك العفو والعافية في الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم إنا نسألك العفو والعافية في ديننا ودنيانا وأهلنا ومالنا. اللهم استر عوراتنا وآمن روعاتنا. اللهم احفظنا من بين يدينا ومن خلفنا وعن يميننا وعن شمالنا ومن فوقنا، ونعوذ بعظمتك أن نغتال من تحتنا. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون، وسلام على المرسلين، والحمد لله رب العالمين. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Please pray for myself and my family and everyone else in this entire community. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum.